All right, here we go. It's a guide's life. Pre-fishing day 3. I'm gonna go back into an area called the football field today, guys. And I just have a little bit of a hunch, to be honest with you. I know there's some water back here because it was always a little bit deeper than a lot of the other stuff around here. So we're gonna kind of come in here, but of course they're marking all kinds of fish in this area as you come in the cut. So you want to take a minute and just kind of cast a little bit. I'm start off with a rattle trap. You know, I'm marking a lot of fish, but again, it really could be anything. Could be anything. Drew the winner, our 1,600 subscriber winner has been selected. Congratulations to, not yet. Later on, I'm gonna give it to you later on. Anyway, it's pretty cool though, I'm real excited. I hope they're excited as well. I will give you a little hint and tell you it's gonna cost me some money in shipping. It's nobody local. So, sorry, Johnny T. Not gonna be you, brother. Although Johnny's pretty well supplied with flipping sticks, so he probably doesn't, he doesn't need a flipping stick, necessarily. It's interesting, there's rock on this side. There's been a lot of surface activity here, but it really, literally, it could be anything, guys. You know, there's a lot of little catfish and things like that in here, and they get on the surface quite a bit. And you know, but what's interesting about this is it's all wood on that side, and so I'm gonna throw a swimming worm there in just a minute. I'm gonna throw this rattle trap across the top of it, but I'm gonna throw a swimming worm. There's a bunch of wood out here in this area. I marked that on my structure scan probably 2 years ago, and I've never really fished this, so always had other places to get busy with, but I'm just looking for areas where they might be stacked up on top of each other. That's really what I'm hoping to find. And to be very honest with you, I really hope it's back in the back end of this thing. There's some deep water holes back there, man, it would be awesome if there was a group of fish back there, because I'm probably going to have that spot to myself in the tournament. I don't think, you know, this is a very obvious place. You know, every time you come to one of these cuts, there's going to be fishermen fishing this stuff. We got about 7 feet or 8 feet of water right here in the middle of this thing. All right, and I'm gonna toss that swimming worm over there against that bank and kind of work it out real slow. I'll tell you one thing, when it starts to be crankbait season, and this is crankbait season for me anyway, personally. Early in the spring, up north when the water's cold, it's crankbait time, and when the water warms up down here, I like to throw crankbaits. But one thing about a crankbait, and I'm going to show you this here. One of the things about a crankbait season, and crankbaits in particular, are you're going to want something. And guys, I have had this old boy here. Oh, well, I got stuff knocked all over here. I've had this thing for probably 20 years. I've probably had this plug knocker for 20 years. I actually made it. I don't know if you can see this here. I'm not sure which video is going to be better, but whether it's the chesty or this one here. But what I have here is a 16-foot dog walker deal. All right, and I took the leash portion off of this and I tied it to what was I believe about a $15 plug knocker. I bought the one that had the chains on it. It kind of goes on your line, just kind of whoop 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 on your line, and you just kind of drop it down. I may have to demonstrate how this works at some point, but I've got a system where I use this thing, and if you're going to throw Guys, I can tell you right now, I've got crankbaits that I've saved with this, that with the first time I used it, I've got $22 probably total wrapped up in this thing, and I guarantee you I paid for it the first time I saved one of my Lucky Crafts crankbaits. You know, some of those are $23, $24, and I've saved probably 40 or 50 crankbaits with this thing. It'll either knock it loose, or you play with it enough to where these chains will hook one of the trebles and you'll pull the whole thing out. And it's fantastic. Plug knocker, it's a must. And I'll show you this, maybe we'll get to use it here before the day is over. Now, I had somebody ask me a great question last night, and I want to address this. And the question was, why on earth would you be using the spot lock on the trolling motor if you got the power poles down? And that's a great question. But I want you to understand something. First of all, there are limitations when it comes to using your power poles. There are absolute limitations, guys. If the wind's blowing really hard one way or the other, it can cause your boat to pendulum, even with 2 power poles. I've got a 22.5-foot boat, or almost 22.5 feet, and the wind's going to catch it and whatnot. Now, the other thing is, if I put the poles with the wind at my back, I've learned over the years, especially fishing bigger water, that a lot of times your poles just keep lifting up and setting back down, lifting up and setting back down. So there's limitations to your power poles. You can jam them down, but then what happens sometimes too is the waves will wash right up on your back deck. So there's all sorts of issues. What I have found with the spot lock trolling motor is that I'll put it on spot lock, and it'll turn around and it'll face the wind just by virtue of the fact that it's going to hold on a spot, and then the wind's going to push the boat around and hold on a spot. And then I'll put my power poles down, shut the spot lock off, turn the spot lock back on again, and it resets the spot lock right where it's at. And literally, the trolling motor uses very little power. It'll 1 or 2, 10 or 20% power to hold the nose just right there without the wind pushing it around. It sits just perfectly. And so that's why I'm using the spot lock and the power poles. I mean, we get 20 mile an hour, 25 mile an hour winds, guys. And let's be clear, it's not an easy thing to hold a big boat, even with 2 10-foot power poles. It's not always easy to do. And so that's the rationale behind why I do both. And I appreciate the question. I'm trying to remember who asked me that question. It was a good question. It's somebody who interacts pretty regularly, I believe. Was it? Oh well, doesn't matter. But anyway, you know who you are. And anyway, great question. But that's why I use the power poles and the spot lock at times. I'll do both, just to have absolute control over the boat. Now, there are also times too where the spot lock can be problematic, especially if it's running at a high speed. The spot lock can be a little problematic because it'll churn up the bottom and it'll stir up all the stuff on the bottom, and that can be a problem as well. So so keeping all that in mind, I'm trying to always minimize and keep my footprint as light as possible, so that I'm not messing up my fishing. So anyway, I hope that answers that question, and more coming. There's fish. There's a fish. There's a fish. Just came off the rocks there. There, baby. So I put the motor on spot lock real quick here, just so I don't have to lose this spot. It's a post-spawn fish. Notice the dots on its belly. That's a post-spawn fish. And a little male probably. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'll mark a spot like that. I'll mark it with a fish icon so that I know I've caught a fish right there. All right. And then all that information becomes really important later. But that's a good thing. I mean, now what's good is if I can get a pattern going here and catch 2 or 3 like that, maybe get a good one. That's what we're looking to do here. so much activity back here. You know, sometimes it just, a place is just pumping and you can feel it pumping, you know. This kind of has that feel to it. Here we are, you know, there's hardly any mats on this lake to fish at all. And here I found a little clump of gator grass here, gator guts, or it's a type of, oh, there's a bass. Come on out of there, baby, come on. Look at there, look at there. So there's a fish caught on the giveaway rod. Right there, Bubba, right there. Boy, he's had the crap beat out of him too. Look at him, he has seen better days, hasn't he? I was just about to say that there's hardly any mats or anything like that to flip anywhere. And then I found this little spot right here that's got some a type of hyacinths in it, and bless God, there it is. And that's the rod and reel that's being given away to Nebraska Bassin. And that's the announcement for the winner, boys and girls. Nebraska Bassin, Nebraska_Bassin won this rod and reel. And I just broke it in proper there, guys, and made sure it's working good. Anyway, you saw me stick that fish, and he was halfway. Geez, he was 7-8 feet from where he bit the bait, and I stuck him good. Pulled him right out. Come on, come on, come on. There he is. There he is, guys. There's another fish on the prize stick. It actually makes me very happy, boys. It makes me very happy. Well, the rod and reel works there, Nebraska. Nebraska_Bassin. Congratulations, brother. And thanks to all my subscribers. Guys, man, it's almost surreal that this thing is taking off like it is. I've got lofty goals. I hope you guys stay with me and keep pushing this thing. I hope this is just the early ground floor stages of what might be a really big thing someday. I suppose that's everybody's kind of their dream, but anyway, you guys are helping me realize it, and I deeply appreciate it. All right. By the way, that was on a 2-ounce weight in about a foot of water. It's Captain Dave Schneider. It's a guide's life, man. Here we go.